Hello everybody, welcome back to my movie review series. Today we'll be discussing Knowing, a 2009 movie. So, I haven't been getting to the theaters much, but I wanted to do some, I told you I wanted to do some throwback movie reviews, not really like 2000 lines that long ago in terms of like the writing being that different or anything. But just movies that I thoroughly enjoyed. I thought scripts had something interesting. Again, I've watched these years and years and years ago. At least this one, again, I have a lot more lined up. But this movie will be doing the typical thing, we're giving you my overall impressions and grade. We'll be discussing the plot, after which you'll want to shut off the video if you've not seen the movie and would like to, based or not based on my recommendation. Because after that, there will be spoilers. We'll be discussing the plot and character development and major themes. And so all of these throwback movies that I'm going to be doing, really against like the writing, something in the script when I first watched the movie that really stuck with me. I was like, this was intriguing, made me think, made me feel something, made me have interesting thoughts later in the day. So I watched this one probably a couple weeks ago. It was just on the TV, one of the really sci-fi throwback channels. You just see a random movie from 15 years ago. So I did watch it relatively recently, not the entire thing. So I'm not sure how tight my synopsis of the plot will be as opposed to the other ones where I literally get back in the theater from just watching the movie. But read you the overview. This one has Nick Cage, so you know it's a good one. 50 years after it was buried in a time capsule, a schoolgirl's cryptic document falls into the hands of Caleb Costler, the son of Professor John Costler, Nick Cage. John figures out the encoded message accurately lists every major disaster from the past 5 decades, predicts 3 future calamities, and 1 global cataclysm. When his warnings fall on deaf ears, John enlists the help of the prophetic author's daughter and granddaughter to try to avert the ultimate disaster. So overall, again, I like Nick Cage. I always like the genre of, just Doomsday. The Day After Tomorrow would be a similar type of movie for this one, which I would be breaking down that movie as well. I like that one. But that genre is always kind of good. But again, just the overall feel and tone of this movie, I remember just being like intriguing. And there are some major themes we'll get to at the end. But overall, I'm going to give this one an A-. Pretty much all the throwback movies that I'm going to be doing are the ones that really stuck with me or I really liked. So I'm going to give this one A- on the lower end of very well done. But obviously we have 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb, 34% on Rotten Tomatoes, 2.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd, whatever that is, and 72% of Google users like this movie. I really enjoyed this one. I just thought the apocalyptic genre, along with the casting of Nick Cage, big fan of Nick Cage, and always National Treasure will be on the well done list. But I just thoroughly like it for the apocalyptic type show and just kind of there's more of a creepy tone to it. I just thoroughly enjoyed this movie. So that is my overall impression. It's great. If you've not seen the movie and would like to, you're going to want to shut off the movie now. So the movie opens up. Again, I haven't watched this in years, and I watched it. I didn't see I probably watched like the last 70% of it probably about 2 weeks ago. So the movie opens up. I'm not really exactly sure. I'm pretty sure Caleb Costler, the son, is at school. They have the time capsule. They open up the time capsule, and he gets this letter with just a bunch of numbers on it. John Costler is a teacher at MIT, I believe, or a big whatever buzzword college it is, and he's an astrophysicist or a scientist or cosmologist or something. And so, pretty quickly on into the movie, he starts again decoding this thing, realizing it's dates and longitudes and latitudes. The first big one that happens is, I believe, is a plane crash. Again, they get the letter. They come home. I haven't seen the movie in a while, but John's just playing with the letter. Again, the overall tone of the movie and the writing was well done for me. But he figures out that there's going to be a plane crash. So they're driving down this highway, him and his son, and then they see the plane come in and just boom, blow up. And then there's a big frantic triage scene, and they're all scrambling to fight stuff and help stuff. And so John then I do believe he takes it to when it says he warnings fall on deaf ears. I believe he takes it to his people at his university or to the news or to whatever, but people just basically don't believe him. So then after that, and Caleb has a hearing aid. And so there's a couple scenes before he meets Grace Costler is his sister, and she kind of helps out taking care of Caleb and she's around. His dad is a Reverend Costler, the classic scientist versus religion motif as well. He has a colleague, Donald, who I believe is at MIT, but he has some other colleague at MIT, Spencer, who was played by Liam Hemsworth. I don't remember exactly what role his character was. But for whatever reason, he gets this letter, a plane crash happens, now he fully knows that, this thing was written by, or is predicting things. He has to figure out who is writing it, and so you meet Diana Wayland, who's like, again, I don't know, a 40-year-old mother. She has a daughter, Abby Wayland, who is, again, right around Caleb's age. Again, I don't know, they're 4th graders, 5th graders, around that time frame. And basically, John learns that the letter that Caleb got in his time capsule from school was written by Diana's mother. And so he meets Diana, researches her, basically learns that she was, this like schizophrenic person, character, like predicting the future type of chick, but she was the one that wrote all the numbers down. And basically she'd been telling Diana her whole life that she knows when her daughter is going to die. But the mother, again, you have some flashback scenes, but the mother, again, is like schizophrenic, but a frantic type of personality for sure, characterization. And so John basically predicts there is a big train crash, or like a subway crash that he predicts. And after the plane crashes first, then the subway crash, then that's when he approaches Diana. And so basically he researches her and kind of like accidentally bumps into her at a museum. And again, they're both single at the same age. And John I think is a widow, or his wife passed away, I believe. I don't exactly remember, but for whatever reason, Diane and John are about the same age, 40 or whatever. Caleb and Abby are about the same age, about 4th, 5th grade. And so John, accidentally bumps into them at a museum and asks us, kind of like asks out Diane to like have lunch. So Diana's looking for a nice cute date. And so they're sitting down, and then John very quickly starts to tell her, like, no, I didn't do this on accident. And Diana just gets up and leaves and is like, this isn't, I don't want to hear about my mother's craziness anymore. And so he goes back to his house. Right around this time, Caleb's listening device starts like picking up like noises or like voices. And so they call them the whispering people, but they're just, aliens. And so basically there's a scene where Nick Cage sees these people standing outside his house. He runs out there after them to get them. He like opens his mouth as big, like blinds his eyes, which that's pretty relevant, major theme and real, but not in the movie. But basically just like blinds him so he can't see them, but very, very clearly like extraterrestrial kind of presence. And then they're kind of like whispering to Caleb through the earpiece. And so they're kind of in there, but again, just the apocalyptic tone and the degradation, again, just really, really, I think writing was a rich place for like seeing how people would behave when, all the privileges of our lives just get thrown away. Well, privileges of your lives, I don't have any constitutional rights whatsoever. But so initially Diana it wants nothing to do with John. I forget what draws her back to him, but they link back up. They also have these like rocks that they're collecting throughout the time. But they go back after Diana initially blows them off. They get back together, or like not like a relationship, but like trying to figure out what's going on. And they go to Diana's mother's like childhood home, which has been abandoned, I guess, since she's lived there. So they're looking through all of these things, and they find these stones. The kids are left in the car at this point. And the whispering people come and like get them out of the car or whatever, talk to them or interact with them again. And so while they're in there looking through this abandoned home, they lift up the bed and they see just the numbers scratched. Again, the note that Caleb got was just, again, just a list of like numbers, but it turned longitude, latitude, the amount of people killed. And at the end of the letter just says 3-3. Well, they think it's 3-3, and then they come to the realization that it means EE, meaning everybody else. They flip up the bed and it says everybody else, meaning that she's predicting the apocalypse, the end of the world type of deal. And so they hear some, like there's car horn honking or something for whatever reason. The kids signal the adults, they come back out. The whispering people are still there. They kind of run away. But the whispering people, again, they're really ominous. But Caleb and Grace both have interactions with them, and they're like, they would do us no harm. And so once they realize that EE means everyone else, John has some back and forth again with his dad, who again is a reverend, but he's basically they figure out everyone else. The prediction that she made is there's going to be a huge solar flare. So again, there's some aliens, some extraterrestrials, but the actual natural disaster part is a solar flare, which is certainly plausible in actual science. So we realize that EE stands for everyone else, and she's predicting a solar flare. Which once somebody realized that in the movie, it's literally the solar flare is going to happen in like 24 hours. So John tells his colleague at MIT to go home and enjoy your day with your wife or whatever. Originally, they're like, we have to get as far underground as we can to avoid the heat of the solar flare. But John's like, there's no caves or whatever deep enough to withstand this big solar flare that's going to occur. And so, basically, and also again, Diana's mother in the entire movie was like, predicting her death. And so originally John tells Diana that they need to get underground, then John realizes it would do no good. They need to get to the location of where these whispering people want the kids to go. And so basically, Grace takes both kids, Caleb and Diana, runs away from John. They stop at a gas station. John tries to track them down. And as John gets the kids back, I believe, yes, and then Diana's like chasing after him because her characterization at this point is a little the insecurities get me a little bit, but she's chasing after him again, just like the delusional mother. Oh, I'm so scared for my kid. Yikes. But regardless, she's chasing John and the kids to try to get him to go back underground, and she gets hit by an ambulance. So Diana does die in prediction with her mother at the exact time that she predicted it, according to the letter. So she gets whacked. But basically, the point of the movie is John has to get the Caleb and Grace to go with the Whispering people, to go like literally on a spaceship to go repopulate, not the Earth, but just repopulate a different planet because of the solar flare. And so he gets them to this place with all these rocks, real sci-fi scene where, well, I don't know how sci-fi, not do sci-fi, but they pull him up into a spaceship, and they go repopulate just some very CGI'd out planet. But regardless, John, after the kids go up with the aliens, John goes back and has his last moments with his father, and then the solar flare hits and everybody dies. So that's pretty much the end of the movie. I just thought the overall tone of the thing when I originally watched it was really interesting, and then the natural disaster apocalypse type of thing is always very intriguing to me. Even like zombies, like World War Z is another movie I thoroughly enjoyed. Just any apocalyptic writing to me really gets people out of, like, you see kind of how people would behave, or how people in real life that are writing things that are so privileged, how they think people would behave. Typically makes for good writing for me. So a lot of people don't like it, but I thoroughly liked it, and so I gave that one an A-. Now the major themes, being able to predict future events, obviously complete fucking bullshit past, like, again, basic interpretation, like, it's cloudy outside, it's probably gonna rain, but mathematically knowing calculations of casualties and death, no. I guess in the overall tone, I thought developed very well. Big fan of Nicolas Cage. Obviously aliens are fucking real, so, and I reference this in my emails, it's like, I don't think the major theme of would there be preservation of life if there was going to be a huge natural disaster? Maybe. Because to me, it could just go either way, meaning there's so much life everywhere, so there is, but it goes in and out of existence. We're trying to say this given species or a given rock or whatever would have no relevance whatsoever to just life. Or if there is, some sort of, uniqueness to even, not Earth, but just life in general, as opposed to, one planet with life against a billion planets without life, it might be valuable to preserve it. So, for whatever reason, it just made good writing. Obviously, I can't speak for any aliens or extraterrestrials. Again, aliens and extraterrestrials seem as distinctly different groups. Briefly caught a clip from Eric Weinstein seeming to be talking about something, saying, we can do basically whatever we want. What if they're not allowed to land? Well, what if they're rising? Like, what if they're servicing? What if the things in the fucking ocean aren't coming from space? Potentially. And so, that's kind of brief there, but again, I've covered mine. I've told you my interactions were definitely fucking real. I might be like multiple. I've had regular interactions, because I've been like 12. But in reality, we have a species that looks pretty much exactly like us, so it's again like being visited by like a black person. So it's like, hey Joe, you have big teeth, huh? You look like an amphibian. Do your gills, can you breathe through your nose sometimes, or your gut sometimes? At the gas station, they do look different structurally. And then it just gets down to a question of how many, there was at least 2 here or around here, but then it gets to even to the solar system, then to the galaxy, it's just question marks. And so the overall writing and tone of the piece, and just conjecturing or thinking about what would happen from a total life's perspective if a given planet does have a proliferation of life and is facing a natural disaster. So I thought it made for a rich script. Obviously, a lot of the other viewers didn't like it because, I say aliens aren't fucking real, none of that shit's fucking real, we're the only species in the whole universe. And in 1400s and 1500s, we couldn't figure out the planet orbits of the planets because we were the center planet. Now we are the center of life. No. But overall, thoroughly enjoyed it. Nick Cage. And again, just another movie where it doesn't have to have like the best, most loving ending. Like everyone on Earth just gets annihilated by a solar flare. So overall, I wanted to give this a movie review. I thought it had some interesting major themes. Predicting the future, fuck no. Interactions with other species, absolutely. You know, I still kind of deny telepathy, meaning like, can somebody, like when the Zimbabwe incident, which was absolutely real, saying they were communicating with us telepathically, it's like, and that's not a word. Presence changes the mood and tone of any room or of any species. And people kind of know, you know that thing you're doing wrong. So when the Zimbabwe kid's saying, you're destroying, they told us you're destroying our planet, it's just be more the presence of them, they would come into an awareness. Whereas opposed, again, I know I can generate a signal that people can hear if they're close enough, but I don't hear fucking voices. Never heard a fucking voice besides my own in my own fucking head. So obviously with first-hand experience, but thoroughly enjoyed the movie, and I thought it made for a rich script and some interesting major themes. So, thank you for watching my review of Knowing, and I will see you on the next one.